Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So all beneficiaries of Social Security will be receiving some type of increase, more than likely next year in 2025, thanks in part to the cost of living adjustment. So we'll be going over the most recent estimates on that. Plus, Donald Trump compares himself to Nelson Mandela after the judge in his hush money case is threatening to throw him into jail allegedly over possibly violating his gag order. And President Biden looks to go ahead and forgive more student loan debt before the November elections. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quick by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $10,000 in free stocks or $10,000 in free cash, in the pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Moomoo. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then deposit at least $100. At that point, Moomoo will be sending you at least 5 free stocks worth all the way up to $10,000. And if you'd rather just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive the stocks is just sell them for what they're worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so diving right into our lead story of today's video, and of course Trump has several upcoming court cases, and Trump recently just compared himself to Nelson Mandela after a judge is threatening to possibly throw Trump into jail for, potentially violating his gag order, which he's kind of, rubbing against a little bit in a way. So according to CNBC, Trump says going to jail for gag order violation would be a great honor, compares himself to Mandela. So Donald Trump on Saturday said he welcomed the prospect of going to jail for violating a gag order in his upcoming New York hush money trial. He said, "I will gladly become a modern-day Nelson Mandela. It will be my great honor," the former president wrote in a lengthy Truth Social post attacking New York State Supreme Court Judge Juan Merchan, who was presiding over Trump's case. Now, just imagine if they were to actually throw Trump in jail for, even a short period of time for violating a gag order. I think really only that's going to help him in the upcoming election, because people are going to see like, hey, they're going out of their way to throw Trump in jail for that. So I really can't see them doing it, but of course we'll just have to wait and see. Now, meanwhile, President Biden isn't doing too well in the polls, and he's actually losing in the polls to younger generations, which is something that usually doesn't happen. Usually younger Americans tend to favor more the left, more the Democratic side, but in this upcoming election, they're actually favoring Trump more, which is extremely unusual, and that's why Biden is now going out of his way to forgive more student loan debt. So according to CNBC, Biden administration will soon roll out a sweeping new student loan forgiveness plan, and this of course is going to be just 7 months before the upcoming election. So according to CNBC, the Biden administration will soon roll out a sweeping new student loan forgiveness proposal that could impact millions of Americans. Despite its smaller scope than President Joe Biden's first education debt relief plan that the Supreme Court ultimately blocked, this new aid package could still forgive the debt for as many as 10 million Americans, according to one rough estimate by higher education expert Mark Kantrowitz. The president will likely want to start forgiving debt for many student borrowers ahead of the election in November. Almost half of all voters, or 48%, say canceling student loan debt is an important issue to them in the 2024 presidential and congressional elections, a recent survey found. Forgiving a student debt could especially help Biden with young voters, a demographic he's been struggling with. Around 70% of Gen Z respondents said student debt cancellation was important to them in the election. So leave your thoughts and comments below. Do you believe that student loan debt or more student loan debt should be wiped out? And it's hard to say whether or not, if he decides to forgive more student loan debt, if that's going to hold up in the Supreme Court, because usually these things, if we're going to be spending money, it has to first be passed through Congress, so it has to go through the House and get the majority of the vote in the House. Then it has to go on to the Senate and get at least 60 out of 100 votes in the Senate, and then finally it has to be sent to the president's desk to be signed into law. But Biden is just saying, I'm going to sign this with a flick of a pen, and we're going to use taxpayer money to forgive all this debt. And of course, we could have many Americans who paid off their student loan debt are now paying for houses and like thinking like, what about me? Why don't you pay off my mortgage, or why don't you pay off my credit card debt? So, obviously there's going to be a lot of Americans unhappy with this. And then those with student loan debt, not just younger ones, but we actually have a lot of people, receiving Social Security benefits. They're having to use a lot of their Social Security benefit to pay off whatever whatever they have to towards their student loans. So really this could help Americans of all age groups if Biden was going to do this. But obviously at the same time, we're going to have those who never went to school because they did not want to take on all of this debt and decided instead to take out a trade or start their own business or do whatever. And they're going to think it's extremely unfair. And maybe those people, once again, maybe they have another type of debt like credit card debt. And they're going to be thinking like, hey, why don't we have money going towards my credit card debt or towards my mortgage or whatever else? So, once again, leave your thoughts and comments below on that. Do you think this is something that Biden should do? And do you think that Biden actually cares, or is he just doing this right before the election to hopefully gain more votes than Donald Trump? Now, of course, next year, speaking of Social Security, there is more than likely going to be some type of increase unless something drastic happens as far as inflation goes. So we have some new projections coming in, and this is from CNBC and the Senior Citizens League. So we're going to be going over what that could look like for 2025, whether you're a retiree, whether you receive SSI, or whether you receive disability benefits. So according to CNBC, here's why Social Security's cost of living adjustment may be smaller in 2025 and beyond. So right now, once again, we have early estimates for the 2025 Social Security COLA. So new government data points to a 2.4% Social Security COLA for 2025. The Senior Citizens League estimates, based on new government inflation data released this week, that estimate is subject to change, and the Social Security Administration typically announces the COLA for the following year in October. So basically how they do this, once again, is they're going to be using the third quarter months of this year, the data from the third quarter of this year, which is going to be July, which is going to be released in August, which is going to be released in September, which is going to be released in October. They're going to use those 3 months, and they're going to compare those 3 months from this year to the exact same months in last year and how much that's increased. So if it increases on average by 2%, the COLA, the cost of living adjustment for next year, is going to be 2%. If it's 3%, it's going to be 3%, and if it's 0% or less, it's going to be 0%. If it's actually negative, if it's actually less this year than what it was last year, then you're not going to receive a negative cost of living adjustment where you're actually going to be receiving a decrease. You could never receive a decrease. That's the good thing. You can only receive nothing at all, or you can receive an increase. And more than likely this year, once again, there is going to be an increase, although it's not going to be nearly as high as it has been over the past few years, and especially not like the 8.7% that we received just a few years ago. So basically what we're looking at, if it does indeed end up being 2.4%, more than likely, once again, that number is going to change. So basically for next year, we are going to be looking at, for Social Security beneficiaries, on average, this year we are receiving $1,907 per month with a 2.4% increase. That's going to be an increase up to $1,952. So it's going to be an increase of $45 per month, or close to $550 per year. Now, as far as disabled workers, this year, disabled workers on average are receiving right around $1,537 per month. With that 2.4% increase, that's going to boost benefits up to right around $36 more per month, or $442 per year. Then as far as SSI beneficiaries go, an individual this year, the maximum benefit for SSI individuals is $943 per month, with a 2.4% increase. That's going to boost that benefit up to right around $22 more per month, or over the course of a year, $271 more per year. So a little bit of a smaller increase there. And then finally, as far as those receiving the max retirement benefit, this year the max retirement benefit is $3,822 per month. With the 2.4% increase, that's going to boost that up to $91 more per month next year in 2025, or $1,100 over the course of a year. Now, once again, the 2.4% number is more than likely going to change, but once again, we are not going to know that until October, what that final number is going to be. Now, as far as Social Security goes, once again, in a few years, really 2033 could possibly be 2032 or even earlier, if nothing is done about the program. Unfortunately, there's not going to be enough money in the trust fund to pay out 100% of the benefits. Instead, they're only going to be able to pay out right around 75 to 80% of the benefits, so something needs to be done within the next few years to save the program. And one Republican believes that he has sort of the best plan to save it, to make sure that we can continue paying out 100% of the benefits. What he wants to do is to raise the full retirement age from 67 up to 69. So we're going to analyze this article here by Fox News. Of course, Donald Trump is still railing against this plan. He does not believe that we should be raising the full retirement age, which we are going to cover in a recent comment. So according to Fox News, a top House Republican wants to raise the retirement age for Social Security benefits to save the program from a projected 2033 insolvency deadline. Republican Study Committee Chairman Kevin Hern, a Republican out of Oklahoma, released a budget last month that included conservative proposals to cut federal spending and extend the life of Social Security. If nothing is done, the critical program will face a roughly 20% cut in 2034. One option Hearn argued for is raising the full retirement benefit eligibility age from 67 to 69, a politically fraught idea that mainstream leaders in both parties have been hesitant to touch. He said, quote, "If you look at it, there's only three options you can do to fix Social Security. One is you adjust the age. The second thing is you adjust what gets paid out of the program. And the third thing is there's more people working that pay into the program." So Hearn is saying that if we raise the age, people will have to work for a longer period of time, which means more money coming into the trust fund and less money leaving the trust fund. So he thinks this is the best idea. Donald Trump, of course, is still railing against that. He says we should not be cutting Social Security or Medicare. So one of his campaign spokeswomen, and Caroline Levitt, told Fox News Digital that, as President Trump has repeatedly stated, he does not support cuts to Social Security, nor does he support raising the retirement age. President Trump delivered on his promise to protect Social Security and Medicare in his first term, and President Trump will continue to strongly protect Social Security and Medicare in his second term. So obviously, once again, this is the third rail of politics. No president wants to touch this or cut benefits. It's not going to be a great look for them, so you can understand why Trump is saying we are not going to do anything at all as far as this goes. But once again, leave your thoughts and comments below about what you believe we should be doing to save Social Security. But that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.